Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 471, we're going to talk about Tahngarth, the First Mate. Now, Tahngarth was Gerard's first mate back in the Weatherlight Saga, and quite frankly, the card that he got back then, was it Plane Shift? I'm not sure. Wasn't exactly stellar. So let's look at Tahngarth now. He's a 4-mana 5/5 that can't be blocked by more than one creature. So you got to one-on-one block him. Okay. Let's try to digest this a little bit. Whenever an opponent attacks with one or more creatures, if Tahngarth is tapped, you may have that opponent gain control of Tahngarth until end of combat. If you do, choose a player or planeswalker that opponent is attacking. Tahngarth is attacking that player or planeswalker. Now, there's a couple minor things in there. Number one, Tahngarth has to be tapped. I mean, you have to have swung with him, which is, flavor-wise, totally makes sense. He was a doer. He was always quick to attack. I'm really surprised they didn't put haste on there, although with, what is that, 9 lines of text, they probably didn't want to add another one. The other important thing is Tahngarth is not declared as an attacker. For minutia rules that are important of when something declares as an attacker, it just says that opponent is attacking, Tahngarth is attacking that player or planeswalker. It's kind of like those few creatures that put a creature into play attacking. They're never declared as an attacker, so it won't trigger things. I do have a card in here that will matter for, maybe more, we'll see. So the idea here is that I went with was to commander damage people out. Now, Tahngarth is probably the best case scenario for commander damage, because as long as there's other aggro decks at the table, as long as other people are attacking, and, not you, well, you're dealing 5, in theory, if we don't have him pumped. We're dealing 5 to somebody just by attacking with him. And then, if somebody else attacks, then now granted, we don't really have a choice as to, we can't force who they attack, but if we like who they're attacking, because whenever an opponent attacks with one or more creatures, you may have that opponent. So you find out who they're attacking first. So obviously, if they're attacking you, then you're like, no, I think I'll just keep my Tahngarth over here. So let's look and see where we went. I think we're going to start first with the mana fixing. And I'll be honest with you, I did the whole gamut here. Let's do, I guess, artifacts first since they're here. We have Talisman, Cluestone, Key Rune, Locket, Signet, all of the Gruul variety. And then the original Gruul mana rock from way back, it doesn't do much. Now there's a new one coming out in Eldraine. No, not the Signet. We all want the Signet, but it's really good. Oh no, that's the tribal one. You choose a tribe. Well, I mean, we could totally pick Minotaur. And then the spell, or here, let's do creatures. The Zertod Druid, the Queer and Elf, pretty much the same card. The Druid's got that little damage dealing thing. Llanowar, Frontier Guide. We're really, really wanting to play Tahngarth as early as possible to get that early swing in. Of course, Nature's Lore, Harrow, Sky Shroud Claim, Mana Geyser. And I don't know if I exactly count Wilderness Reclamation as ramp. It kind of is and it kind of isn't, but we have a lot of reactionary removal. We have to, because as panic buttons, Uh, because the idea is we don't want people to attack us, and our creature base isn't that large. So this lets us spend our mana on our turn and then have reactionary mana up, for everybody else's turn. So Tahngarth is going to get in there for commander damage. So let's see if we can make Tahngarth better than a 5/5, shall we? Now, the first two cards that we all thought of, Assault Suit, of course. Now, this is kind of tricky here because it gets 2/2 haste, but it can't attack you, right? So that's another way to make sure Tahngarth goes at somebody else. And can't be sacrificed. That's an important distinction there. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may give the creature away. So now this, coupled with Tahngarth, can make for some interesting scenarios, especially if he's tapped under somebody else's control and you're like, right? Now, Bloodthirsty Blade is kind of the new one. It's +2/0 and goaded. It's +2 and it can't attack you. Now, you have to wait to equip this because you can only attach this blade to a creature an opponent controls. So you've got to wait to give them Tahngarth and then hook him up with the Bloodthirsty. The rest of the equipment-wise, Fire Shrieker's just going to make him double strike, which is never a bad thing. And a Mage Slayer. Now, Mage Slayer is not going to work. This is the card I was telling you about. It's not going to work under, somebody else's control. Simply because when you give Tahngarth away, it's already past the declare attacker's step. But when you have him, you will actually get to declare him as an attacker, which will deal. And I love the Mage Slayer because it's not just a buff. It's equipped creature attacks, it deals damage. Now, keep in mind, that's not commander damage. That is like Hidetsugu's tap damage. It's not combat damage. But it does speed the game up quicker. Let's see what else we got. I like Vow of Lightning. 2/2 first strike. Yeah, and can't attack you. Now, these are also, if you... the beautiful part about the vows is, the vows work on any creature, right? And so does the Bloodthirsty Blade. And, it's not, +3/+3 and trample for the wilderness. We got a Rancor to give it the trample. Love, love, love the trample. Don't laugh at me, Might of Oaks. +7/+7 to instant speed. Yeah. Well, that makes friends real quick, doesn't it? Or, +9. I like Bounty of the Might. I think it's worth the extra mana. Yeah, we go from +7 to +9. Or 3 shots of 3. That can matter too. Psychotic Fury. Tahngarth is 2 color, so double strike till end of turn, and you get to draw a card. Colossal Might is +4, 2, and trample. Okay. Frenzied Rage. +2, 1, and menace, so hey. Lightning Talons. First strike and 3. Run Amok. 3/3 and trample. Now we're going to get to some more of the weird stuff here. Shape of the Wittigo. Now, Shape of the Wittigo is... This is a card that is hard to find homes for. It really is. But it's perfect for this deck. Yeah, it is a 6-mana aura. But when it comes into play, you put 6/1/1 counters on the creature. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you put another counter on it. If it attacked or blocked since your last upkeep, otherwise you remove a counter. Well, you know what? I'm betting it's going to have attacked since my last upkeep. So The counters will grow. Now, it's a slow grow, but, you know. Then we have Trailblazer. That's right. Running those powerhouse reserve list cards. That's how we roll up in here. The Trailblazer. Oh, I think Trailblazer is actually on the reserve list because it was never good enough to print, to be honest with you, to reprint again. So 4 mana just makes a creature can't be blocked. So this is, it's nowhere near as good here as the other deck that, I can't remember if I've showed you all that deck or not. The Goat deck, the Naya Goat. I don't know. We have Rhythm of the Wild. Riot. Riot's pretty sweet. 1/1 or haste. Ideally, we're doing this the turn before we Tahngarth. So, and then if we just want to be, you know, super risky here, we've got the Furnace of Wrath. It's super risky. This is not gratuitous violence. You know, it is every damage is doubled, including damage to us. So, you know, things like lightning bolt and other people's commanders are super sketchy, but it's worth it, right? No risk, no reward. It's not like Tahngarth ever sat down and thought about it. And Furnace of Wrath is a story moment. That's the Weatherlight in there, and Tahngarth is on that ship. Anyway, let's look at some card draw. Faithless Looting, Harmonize, Tormenting Voice. I played Modern this past weekend. Yeah, right? I played in a Modern tournament. Couldn't believe it. I had a blast. I won 1 game the entire night out of 4 rounds. It was beautifully amazing. I played Burn, and I played with Risk Factor. Now, and I wanted to see how well it translated over to Commander. Now, Risk Factor is the superior of the two. We'll get to the other one in a second. Risk Factor is better. It's actually maybe a Commander playable card. Now, granted, the timing. You hear a lot of people talk about how bad that these cards are, just simply because your opponent gets to make the choice and you never get exactly what you want. However, there are times where you can influence the board enough. If you have set up everything correctly, you get the choice you want. So, Risk Factor is better because Risk Factor says target opponent. Now, Browbeat, to be honest with you, I should probably take Browbeat out. And maybe once we get some Eldraine goodness, that may be enough to make me do it, because Browbeat is anybody at the table. Now, that's, yeah, I think I'm about to make a case against a card I have chosen. The reason why Browbeat sucks in multiplayer is, you know, you've got minimum 3 opponents. Maybe you draw it late and there's 2 or whatever. But the whole table gets around to decide if they want to take 5. I don't... I guess what this past weekend has taught me is Browbeat is exceptional in one-on-one for refilling the hand. I played 4 Browbeats and 4 Risk Factors, although I say phenomenal. I won 1 game. But in Mono Red Burn with, what was I running? 4, 8, 12, 16, with 20 equivalents of lightning bolts. I mean, they're always... It's a Kobayashi Maru at that point. But anyway, let's look at our other creatures, now that we know we have a slot here. Our other creatures. Yavimaya Elder I didn't put like in the ramp category, mainly because it doesn't put the lands into play. I mean, yeah, you get to draw a card, you get 2 lands, but you're just not going to miss a land drop for 2 turns, apparently. Gorilla Shaman, which probably should be in the removal section. Yeah, because it's really good, and we spent all that time ramping, so we need to destroy some artifacts. Spore Frog, another panic button. I don't have a way to recur the Spore Frog, but it's still good. And then Grun. Now, Grun is good in here, obviously, for all the reasons why Tahngarth is. Now, granted, you're not going to pass Grun around the table unless you assault suit him up or whatever. But we have all of these cards. Number one, we have all the ramp. And number two, we have all the ways to make our creature better. And a 2020 is not that bad. I mean, base. Because the 5 becomes 10, becomes 20 when he attacks alone. So that's a... Now, that's not a whole lot of... We're pretty much all in on this Tahngarth strategy. So, let's look at our... Before I get to the removal, let's look at our miscellaneous category is what we'll call it. Road of the Return. Now, he gets a permanent back, or put your commander into hand from the command zone, just in case he dies so much we can't afford the commander tax. So, this costs 2 mana. This is us paying the tax, essentially. A Regrowth. A Fog. I'm telling you, Fog is totally underestimated. I feel like blue should have one. I feel like red should not, but, I mean. And then we have crop rotation, which I didn't count as ramp. It's more selection than anything else, just in case we specifically need one of our lands. I don't know what lands that might be, but Curse of Merit Lage is a hate card that I do not have a problem playing because, Cyclonic Rift is a real thing, and blue has a really tendency to mess with this entire strategy. So let's look at some removal, shall we? Now, Tribute to the Wild, I absolutely love. Everybody sacks an artifact or an enchantment. You don't want to say creature. Want to stay away from that because they probably got one of yours. Naturalize, Plummet, Shenanigans. That's right, running it. Chain Reaction, Active Volcano. Now, it seems a little corner case. Destroy target blue permanent or return an island to its owner's hand. But I like it. No other reason. I like it. Hull Breach, Cinder Vines. I put an Incinerate in the deck. I can't tell you why. I don't remember what my logic was behind the Incinerate and not the Bolt. Maybe I just really wanted that no regen clause. Yeah, 2 for 3 damage doesn't... maybe I was hating on the regen. Huh. What was I thinking? I built this deck, and I listed it several days ago, so... yeah. If y'all got any insight as to what I was thinking, probably the regeneration thing, because for commanders, if your commander has regeneration, that's a powerful thing, because not a lot of cards have that no regen clause anymore. We have Broken Bond that can also, if we're lucky, be a land drop. My favorite thing in the world is to, turn 2 Broken Bond, somebody's turn 1 Soul Ring, and I get the land bump out of the deal. It's pretty sweet. Gruul Charm. Shattering Spree. Now, I didn't realize Shattering Spree was as awesome as it was. Now, Vandal Blast would obviously be really good in here, but, it's Vandal Blast. Acidic Slime. Sunder Shaman is, it's a 4-mana 5/5, which, by the way, if y'all haven't heard the latest, I don't know if it's the latest episode, but the Commander Cookout podcast has a 5/5 for 4 episode. It's different, but deals combat damage. You get to naturalize. and then Savage Twister to as another board wipe. So let's look at some of these crazy lands here. Now, as expected, I'm going to have the Gruul lands, all the Gruul lands I had. You know, the Cinder Glade. Oh, before we do this, we need to raise up again. The Cinder Glade, Guildgate, Timber Gorge, Rugged Highlands, Prom, Valley, Turf. I got the Blighted Woodland in there. I probably should have thrown that into the ramp because it does occupy one land drop, but it does get you two. So now, granted, it's effectively costs 5 to do this. I didn't put it in there, and that's kind of why I didn't classify it as ramp, because if you've got 4 mana plus this to tap, we're probably wanting to do something else. Some cycling lands, you know, some green and some red. I love the Vivids. Yeah, they're awesome with Doubling Season, but, you know, everything's awesome with Doubling Season. Evolving Wilds, Ash Barrens. And let's talk about this last land, Temple of the False God. Now, this is, man, as far as I know, it's probably one of the most polarizing lands in our format. I mean, people love it or they hate it. I'm kind of one of those that's right in the middle. It's okay. It's amazing in some decks. It is terrible in some decks. This is kind of the reason why I don't believe in the word staples, because I think each deck wants something different. And Tahngarth, I mean, the Temple is not as bad in like heavy ramp decks, which this is not. This is heavy mana ramp. It's not heavy land ramp. But in a lot of your green decks that are just your turn 2 rampant growthing, turn 3, you know, get 2 lands, just bam, bam. It's not that bad. We're kind of somewhere in the medium of that with this deck. So I don't know. I mean, I play it on occasion. It's not every deck. Now, Wizards, I think they like to give it to us in it wasn't in every precon this year, was it? Probably not. So let's look up here. This is our first deck of the new row, isn't it? Well, that is what I have got for today. We're going to try to get a haircut. My work is going to take me out of town for about 3 days next week, and so we're going to try to record up some, get it ready to go before, you know, so I don't have to miss, y'all don't have to miss anything. But what I normally do, it's a once a year trip, and what I normally do is I will try to hit, it's in a neighboring state, I try to hit as many different game shops as possible. I think last year I hit 4. I'm going to try to improve upon that number this year. Just stop in and see what's. I went to one last year on that trip that Commander was not a thing. It just wasn't. The players, it's not what they, and everything varies from place to place. But here in my locale, in pretty much this big section of Tennessee, we have the format. I mean, everybody plays something else, but there's a shop down the road that is, I mean, that has, you know, 20 people Commander events every week. And then there's another shop down the road that doesn't. When I played Modern, I went to Goose's Computers and Games in Selmer, no, McKenzie, and I don't know how many Modern players there were on Saturday night, but there was a bunch. I mean, what the upside is in a small community like this, small Magic community like this, just about know everybody there. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I've been painting today, which is the reason why I'm wearing, you know, been outside painting for, oh gosh, 3 or 4 days. Whew, parking lot lines. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. And right now, we're going to shuffle and cut.